Hello and welcome to the Spotlight. So here's a question. Are you prepared for the death of a loved one? Would you know what to do if your mother, father, or even spouse passes before you do, leaving you to handle any and all arrangements? Though we often say it in jest, do you know that GoFundMe is not an insurance policy? On January 6th at our marriage ministry, we were introduced to a couple of folks that may have a solution to navigate those waters of indecision should you need answers to those questions. The topic of this spotlight is your final expense solution. Let's get into it. Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Anthony Spencer, the Voice Spotlight. And tonight, uh, tonight because we're recording at night, we have Miss Charmaine Aponte and Mr. Harry T. Stewart Jr. Um, this past Saturday, our marriage ministry actually opened up its format um, to what they, meaning Mr. Stewart and Mr. Ponte, brought to the table. So before we start, how are you guys?
Very well, thank you.
Doing great, doing great.
So I have a few questions and we'll see where they take us. But final expense solution. Could one of you explain to me what final expense solution is?
Yes, it's basically when it becomes end of life and you have to plan your home going, may it be a funeral or a cremation. You want to make sure you have everything in order for your loved ones so there's no confusion, loss of time and money because we don't know exactly what we need to do.
Okay. So you're saying that the details that most of us work on, I might have said to Charmaine, I just funeralized my brother on the Friday before Saturday, and there were a lot of things, um, let's say a few things that had to be done prior to that. So the final expense solution, it takes that, if I'm hearing correctly, it takes the burden off of the loved one or the one that's left. Is that correct?
Well, it actually takes a lot of the burden off the family because the loved one that has passed has written down sort of instructions or a blueprint of how they want to be handled. If it's a funeral, if it's a cremation, their favorite hymn, scripture, pallbearers, how they want to be dressed, any kind of ornaments they want to have on, pertinent documents where they need to be, all kinds of different things. They can even have their obituary written out, everybody that needs to be contacted. So you have all this on file, and you have with the Funeral Consumers Guardian Society advocates that actually help the family through this process, reviewing contracts to making sure that the family can go ahead and grieve and concentrate on the family instead of worrying about all these different kind of papers and different things like that.
All right. So if I'm hearing correctly, the solution is contingent on the person as they are um, able or alert or cognizant enough to make these arrangements, correct?
Yes, they can make the arrangements by themselves with the family, so the beneficiary knows exactly what to do when that time comes. We find that's when a lot of confusion comes in because the family, a lot of times, don't expect it, and the family doesn't know exactly what the wishes are of the loved one.
Okay. And in my brother's case, he was in a nursing home since the 1960s before he passed. So he wasn't able to set these things up. How is
Right.
that handled? That is handled just by family?
Yes, I mean, if he's in there, something like that with us, it always should be written down so somebody knows what to do, and more than one person should be involved in the beneficiary process. We find a lot of times one person may have passed, and then now you have nobody else that's ready to step up or was appointed, and then a lot of time and money can be wasted.
Okay. So I wanted to lead off with the main topic of the conversation and what it is that you do. So you are both Lincoln Heritage. So can you give me a history of Lincoln Heritage?
Sure. All right. Lincoln Heritage has actually been around for about 60 years. Last year, it was our 60th year anniversary. It's a family owned business started by Jack London. And basically, the young London family has specialized in final expense. Back in the day, they call it death insurance. In the insurance field, their niche market is individuals 50 to 85 years old. You'd be surprised how many individuals are not properly prepared for that journey around that time because they're relying on possibly they thought they were getting insurance from their job. They had something before and it's run out. But Lincoln is a life insurance company that specializes in just burial insurance, 1,000 to 3,000, 35, excuse me, 1,000 to $35,000 for funeral policies and different things like that, and the needs that go around it.
Okay, so I believe my biological dad had Lincoln Heritage, but I have to confess that I don't remember a lot of what went on during that time, and I think that I did a lot of the arrangements. So I'm just thinking, I'm looking at the logo and such. Like I say, it's been a little time that that has happened. So so this final expense solution, okay? So I'm looking at my age, which is 67 now. But I know we talk of end of life, but end of life for a 23-year-old could be tomorrow. So when should people, and we want to give Charmaine a chance to talk to, I don't want to leave her out, but when is a good time for the common everyday man? When should he be thinking of things about a final expense solution?
Charmaine?
You're muted. Okay.
Okay. So technically, every adult over the age of 18 should be considering final expenses. But of course, at that age, you're thinking that you're going to live forever. Our primary target group is ages 50 to 85. However, we're always welcoming individuals that are younger, that are a little more conscious and responsible to kind of get their house in order, so to speak.
Okay. So, and this is to either one of you. I actually was handling some of the post business of my brother during the presentation. So I heard some, but I didn't hear all. But I heard some things that Lincoln Heritage brings to the table, um, where the death certificate is not that main instrument for getting things done. I have I'm dealing now with the facility that my brother was in. I'm dealing with his very, very small pension that came from the state of Maryland. And I'm also dealing with Social Security, and all are with the exception of Social Security. I think that that notification came with his Social Security number, but most are asking for that death certificate. But if I remember correctly, Lincoln Heritage does not require, need, and or have to wait for that. Correct.
Yes, I've actually been in a situation a couple times where a loved one passed, several times actually, and basically they've been with us, and we do not need a death certificate. We're not giving out these huge policies. There's 1,000 to 35,000. A lot of times they're 10, 15, to 20, and no, once you've been with us, we get that notice. We can call the company, and on the agent's word, get up to 80% of the face amount of the policy without a death certificate, because the families need the money right then and there. When you go down to the funeral home and you want to get things started, well, they need administrative fee. They probably picked up the body, and a lot of times families don't have a couple thousand or something like that in their pocket to come right out and do some stuff. So we can get the money to them quick once we've reviewed the policies and everything like that too, and reviewed the contracts on the funeral homes.
Okay. So, I heard that on Saturday, but you mentioned again reviewing the policies. Can one of you explain that?
Well, a lot of folks have other insurance policies. Along with that, we do not, try to cancel policies. We just add on because insurance is a tool. You may have a policy that's 30 or 40 years old. You want to make sure that you know what type of money is in there. You want to make sure that the policy is still active. A lot of beneficiaries go to policies and they're not active no more. The parent still has a policy, but they haven't paid on it. Some people have duplicate policies, and now they think they got all this money, and it's really just one policy, but they have the insurance company send them a duplicate policy or something else like that. So it's just a lot of stuff that needs to be put in order for something like that happens.
Okay. Again, I mentioned my age, but I guess my question is, since you mentioned policies, is there a cutoff to obtaining something like Lincoln Heritage?
Charmaine, you can answer that.
I'm sorry. The question again, please.
Yes, like I said, is there a age or medical restriction or cutoff for obtaining Lincoln Heritage or the final expense solution?
I can say mostly no. However, there is no medical exam. We do access information regarding medication. There are a lot of pre-existing conditions are covered, even if it is something that's let's say advanced cancer or something like that. It would be a modified policy, but basically pretty much everyone qualifies for coverage. There are some rules when it comes to HIV and AIDS and that type of thing, but for the most part, there is no cutoff. You are either a general policy or a modified policy.
Okay.
Yeah. Now there's an age. The age does stop at 85, where you can enroll in the program. A lot of companies stop at 80, because technically we're supposed to be dead at 85. Yeah. But we're outliving the odds.
Yeah, and odd you should say that, because you're saying 85, and when I funeralized my brother, the pastor that came and spoke referred to age limits as 80 or 70 and 80 and where we're supposed to be there. And not because of what you said, but when he said this on Friday, I had to smile because my pop's last remaining friend is 93. And I had to fuss him out because he decided to go up on his garage and recoat a roof that me and my friend had recoated in October or November. So, and I just talked to him today. His hearing, he's moving a little slur, and his hearing is going, but he is still moving. He's putting one foot in front of the other. He's very cognizant. He's very aware. So, but with him being 93, I could not talk to him about getting a policy. That's
yeah. Not with Lincoln. No, he's a little bit too old. Yeah.
All right. So I have a family member that might not be have a mental awareness enough to understand what's going on here. Would I or one of the family members be able to get a policy on that person, or what am I trying to say? Okay, so I get one on myself, on the policy owner and such. Am I able to get it on someone else? I guess that's the simplified version.
Yes, you can be the owner of a policy on another individual.
And what are the guidelines to that?
Well, they just have to give you permission to be the owner of the policy, really. And now, if somebody
not understanding, I should say.
Yeah, if they're not understanding, and if you might need a power of attorney, as long as they're cognizant of what's going on, they can give you permission. But we have some folks that can't make their own decisions mentally or physically, and as long as you have a power of attorney, you're fine.
Okay, all right. So that would be the power of attorney. Okay, all right. So,
But if they're awake and cognizant, say, well, no, I want my son, Mr. Spencer, to be the owner of my policy, that's fine.
okay, okay.
Mhm.
And I have to, okay. So, I heard most of the presentation, but not all of it, and I actually had to leave quickly on Saturday. If one is interested in obtaining what I'm looking at here, the funeral advantage final expense solution, if one is interested in obtaining this, where do they start?
They could call me directly
Okay.
at 240-462-4956 and ask for Harry Stewart.
Okay.
They could call Miss Charmaine Aponte, and she will give you her number also.
Okay.
That's 443-845-9263.
Okay.
And if you could have them,
Go ahead.
if you could have them mention VLF or your name, then we would be able to provide the service that they deserve and expect.
Okay. So I heard, if I'm not mistaken, applications. Can you tell me about the application? Because I guess someone would want to know after they talk to you, what would entail, what would come after that initial introduction?
There's a one-page application. There's no physical, no urine, no blood, picking, anything like that. We just ask about 10, 11 questions. Based on answers of the questions, we can write them an insurance policy.
Okay. Okay.
Takes about 5 minutes to go through the application.
Okay. So I'm guessing what comes next is what a lot of people are hinging on, and I will probably give you a chance to expand on what you're talking about. But I'm sure there's someone that's listening to now, even if they find it interesting, they are worrying about a cost or pricing. Is that something we can discuss this evening?
Well, everything is an individual case. A lot of our folks are on a fixed income. So our policy starts as little as $15 a month and can go up based on age and medical conditions.
Okay.
So it's not cookie cutter. It's not one price for everybody.
And I understood that. And you're at least giving a ballpark on the low end. Is there a high end?
It depends on the age and how much coverage they want.
Okay.
We have people sometimes that may spend $200 or $300 based on how much coverage they want, their age, and different things.
Okay, so that's kind of where I was leading to is the coverage. The coverage starts at.
We can start as low as $1,000 worth of coverage. We go as high as $35,000 worth of coverage. We also have accidental death up to $160,000 worth of coverage for certain types of accidents.
So 35, you say?
Yes,
Okay.
You should be able to be buried for 35,000.
All right. And again, that's what we want people to understand, that this is just a final expense solution to help with those costs.
Right.
And not so much to get that windfall because Big Mama's gone and I'm trying to get some other stuff here. I'm looking for that.
Yeah, they have other policies that they've taken out for that. Like I said, as a tool, if you want to leave your spouse something, your children something, quality of life, all that should be taken out in different types of policies and designated for that. Just like this one's specifically for the funeral, because we can get everything done expeditiously and, we can get the money to them very quickly while everybody else is waiting on their funds.
Okay. So, of course, you work for Lincoln Heritage. And so you're going to be pro Lincoln Heritage. But why Lincoln Heritage? Why should that be the company that we consider?
Well, I mean, I've been in the industry for a while, and I see how the companies handle their customers, and Lincoln is very customer friendly. We encourage them to call the customers. Lincoln is also the only company that has the Funeral Consumers Guardian Society that's associated with it, that acts as advocates for each one of their clients. There's other companies out there that try to imitate that, but they're the only ones that, you pick up the phone, you have a live person. They're going to walk you step by step through the whole procedure. They pay their claims. They pay a majority, almost all their claims. They pay their claims in a timely fashion. And basically, they've really, help the family financially where it comes to saving money on the cost of a funeral or cremation, get everything done in a timely fashion. I've actually had people within 48 hours, the funeral home's paid, the cemetery's paid, and the family's paid.
Okay. So this is the second time tonight, but the third or fourth time that I've heard this Guardian Society. Can you elaborate a little bit on it?
Sure. Yeah. The Funeral Consumers Guardian Society was started about 100 years ago as a nonprofit, and the owner knew Jack Lender, the owner of Lincoln Heritage. They got tired of individuals being taken advantage of by the funeral homes. You go to several different funeral homes, but they're owned by one big conglomerate. You think you're getting a deal. Mm-hmm. So they wanted to make sure that they act as an advocate for the family. And basically, every one of our policyholders is enrolled in this program free. That basically they are provided a final wishes book that they can write down the final wishes, as we talked about, just how they want to be funeralized or taken care of. They keep that on file. The beneficiaries are issued a membership card that has an identification number on it, that the information that they've written down and kept on file, as soon as they pass, they can call, give that number, and now you have a team of people that's going to assist you, making phone calls, arrangements, reading the contracts and everything. And it really makes it very easy for the family just to focus on the family while we take care of all those things. We are the only company that have that kind of service. The other companies are trying to copy, but when you talk to somebody that has Lincoln Heritage, they're going to say that they were taken care of quickly. They, respectfully, they got things done. The Funeral Consumers Guardian Society is open 24/7. It's not closed on the weekends. People pass at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. You still have to be able to talk to somebody. So they're there as the advocate for the family.
Okay. Pastor Phil said that it came in very useful when one of his loved ones passed. And this is just a question that came to mind when you're saying they're at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Is any kind of grief counseling provided by the Guardian? We're just handling that business portion of it. And this just came to mind. This is not a planned question or anything.
Yeah. It's basically we care about the family, so we're there to support them. We're not grief counselors, but we're there to understand the situation and walk them through them hand in hand, and just be there to comfort them and make sure that it doesn't get any worse and confusing by things not being found and people not knowing what's going on. So they seem like the families really appreciate us being around, because a lot of times, most of the time, there's no other insurance agent around. The guy that sold them the policy 10, 20 years ago, they can't find him. They're asking us the information. That's why we tell them to put the other policy informations down in the booklets.
For my own edification, I like to pay things either automatic or something along those lines. These are things that Liberty Heritage can be auto deducted or something like that, so they don't find themselves forgetting and finding that something has lapsed.
Yes, we prefer, paying through the banks and credit unions. Your accounts can't get compromised. Your cards get compromised. Sending stuff in through the mail is not very reliable nowadays. Anything can happen. So, this auto pay is very good. That's the way everybody's going. And you can pay something annually all at once or semi-annually also.
Okay. So you said you've been with Lincoln Heritage for a while. Is there anything that either one of you would like to say on how you became affiliated with Lincoln Heritage and why you're still affiliated with Lincoln Heritage?
Well, I'm going to say basically out of all the insurance companies that I've dealt with, Lincoln is the most agent friendly. They seem to appreciate the agent. And they have very good products. They are the number one final expense company, so they have the number one product in this realm right here. Okay. So, when somebody treats you well, you don't have any problems with them, they're reachable, and everything like that, you stay with them.
Got you. Charmaine?
And if I could, I'd like to address that from a student or an agent in training. If there are, it's a career opportunity. I chose Lincoln Heritage just based on their ethics and how they treat their customers. I also am a policyholder, and I'm an agent in training, and there are I'm hearing it through several of our meetings that the goal is to bring on at least 100 new agents before the end of the month, or no later than the second week in February. That's not mandated, but that's how many people are in need of these services. It's affordable. We work based on the individual's budget, so we don't encourage them to overspend. But that is one of the main reasons why I just decided to join the team, because we need to get this information out so that we can help people during the worst time of their life. We just want to make sure that they're not stuck or missed or passed over or in a situation where they're not able to pay, and then the funeral home has to do due process, and that's not very comfortable for most families. But basically because of how they do business and how they treat their customers. And they have a tendency to pamper their agents a little bit because we do work very hard, and it's a commitment that you can live with. So maybe that's another spotlight time for information about our career opportunities.
Okay. So, and I was going to circle back around to that, that it sounds like there can be some career opportunities for somebody that might be interested in it. And definitely when you um, are a user of a product and you believe in that product, that gives you that. But I like to get back to one of the things that I heard from both of you, which is very near and dear to my heart, which is customer service, because I am very close to doing a spotlight basically called the lost art of customer service. I
Mhm.
find out now that it's not what I'm accustomed to. It's not what I'm used to. I had a situation today where I called a agency with Baltimore City, and I she was just flat out rude in a
Wow.
situation that was very. I when I came to her with what I came to her with, it was caring for another person. It wasn't about money, but that's what the person threw back at me.
Oh,
Is that money is coming, so why am I calling? So, customer service is a lost art. I get, there are the jokes about Waffle House and how well they fight at Waffle House. But one of the things I like about Waffle House is when you hit that door, they're saying good morning. So customer service is very I will pay attention. I will slow down. I will give somebody the time if they are personable and they provide good customer service. Um, I and Pastor Phil will tell you, I've walked out of 3 restaurants on a same day on the 3 Sundays because they were not where I needed to be. So, one of the reasons I've done this is that, like I said, we opened it up to, it was during our marriage ministry and we opened it up to a few, but I think we tend to, for whatever reasons, not to give something like this a lot of attention. And I wanted to get it out to not only our members, because our congregation does span out, because we do stream our services and like, but I wanted to get it out to our congregation primarily, but and to anyone that needs it secondary. Um, so, and then again, I'm sorry, sometimes as I'm talking, some other questions come to mind because I mentioned our online um, congregation. So, does any of the criteria, what should I say? Does the state on which they live, does that play any part? Just in case that question comes up to me or somebody has that question. If somebody's looking at this in Florida, is there is Florida in the way that you would handle a Florida policy different than the way that you would handle a Maryland policy, and you're not confined to just Maryland. Am I correct?
Yeah, our region is New Jersey to Georgia. Actually, Florida's not one of them.
Okay.
But states have their own separate rules and regulations. But seemingly, everything is fine. I'm licensed in those different states, and I can go to those states, do business over the phone. For example, North Carolina is called a guaranteed state with us. That basically, you can be anywhere and get a policy of North Carolina, and you can be in the hospital bed and get a policy of North Carolina. So, yeah, different states have different regulations, but we basically have no problem. We're cross state boundaries and everything like that.
Okay.
And we can do things over the phone. We don't have to personally see somebody. We can do what's called telesales. So I can actually call you down in North Carolina, call you in Georgia, and take care of all the business over the phone, get a phone signature and everything.
So if we have a member that's in Florida or Texas or such, could they call you and then you direct them to the right
Yes.
region?
Yes.
So the phone numbers that you provided that will be shown during the when this is streamed, anyone in the streaming world can see this and call you, and you'll direct them to where they need to go.
Yeah, if they're in a region that I'm not in, I'll find an agent or agency in that area that we can contact them.
And that's very good, because I would think that I would feel that if you're outside of my region, I don't know how to go look, so they can call you and you guys can take care of that, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Along with Lincoln and the different regions, we do have conventions. We keep in contact with other people in other regions because we cross share, selling techniques and different knowledge. So yeah, I know people in different regions that I can put people up. I have people that live in different regions that I can't help, so I gotta give them, somebody in that area. So yeah.
Understood. Okay. All right. So I think you've answered a lot of my questions. There may be another opportunity that we use this format. However, was it the hearts and the grants that brought you guys in on Saturday?
Is that Pastor Jackie? It
was
started
Jackie.
with let me just say it started with Lisa Robinson. She is one of your members and ministers in training, also a former co-worker who connected me with Pastor Jackie, and she just organized everything so beautifully.
Okay, so that's because I want this to get out, but sometimes that more personal, I can put my hands on you, shake your hand, will will expand on the comfort level, I should say. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to say anything that you want to say before we get out of here. I will be posting your information, the provided information that you give me to put out. And I'm hoping myself, I'm definitely, like I think I told you, Charmaine, I am interested in this myself. So I'll be reaching out to your Harry to do the application and see where I am at in the grand scheme of things. And hopefully the spotlight will cause some people to talk and get there. But definitely once I see where it is with me, I will probably start grabbing some family members. Unfortunately or fortunately, some are in Florida. Pensacola, Florida is my second home. So I will be talking to my sister and such in that area. So anything you guys want to say in closing?
I want to say one thing. Lincoln is not the cheapest option out there, but we are the #1 option out there, and for a reason that you get a live person, and we know how to handle the family when that time comes. So a lot of times when it comes to this, you don't want the cheapest product out there because you're going to get a cheap result from it a lot of times. So just letting people know that, because some people say, well, you're not the cheapest. No, we don't want to be the cheapest. We're the #1 final expense company. All right. And basically, we're not the cheapest because of our knowledge and what we can do with the family. So that's it. We're not the most expensive either.
Well, thank you for the transparency, because I'm sure that will come up at some who's ever out there searching. So I'm glad that is something. Charmaine, anything you want to close with?
And if I can add to that, we take great pride because it's more about the service than it is the sale. And in saying that, it's very budget friendly, and it is perfectly okay to start off with what you can afford, and you're always welcome to add to it thereafter. Again, it's not about the sales, it's about the service. And we do establish relationships with our customers, not just, you're kind of like stuck with us for life. We're going to stick by you, um, until whenever. But I
That's
will say that we'd be happy to come back. Certainly excited about offering an opportunity for the career opportunities as well. But I think you made a good choice in getting coverage for yourself. And then you can witness firsthand to your family just how easy it was.
Okay. And so you brought up you brought up something else, and I don't want to get way back into the interview, but I can start at a lower amount, and as things get better for me, I can increase that, correct?
Absolutely.
correct.
That is great. That is great. And I that's a question that I should have thought up, but I admit that I didn't. But that is good to know that I can start at a level. I guess it's a sort of like tithe, and I start here and I can work my way up to tithe and stuff. So it fits into the church theme. So I'd like to thank you both for appearing on the spotlight. I am personally looking forward to filling out an application in the next few days or so. Um, and I will be contacting you. There's some things that I need to do, but this is something I need to do as well. So again, I'm hoping that this gets out to our congregation, both in the building and online, so that they can take advantage of this, because
Mhm.
um, if they've never lost anyone and that burden has fell to them, they really will be unprepared for what happens next. Just losing someone you love, and it can be devastating, depending on your mindset and the way that you have set up your life to be. So again, I thank you both for appearing on the spotlight. I will let you know when it will be released, and we hope that it generates calls for you both.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity.
Okay,
Our
thank
pleasure.
you very much. Good night.
Thank you so much. Good night,
Right.
everyone.
So there you have it. The spotlight number 11 on final expense solutions. Has it answered your questions? If not, you can contact Mr. Stewart and Ms. Aponte and maybe get some additional information. Um, I still remember when I was young, and Ms. Aponte was definitely correct. When I was in my 18s, when I was 18, 20, in my 30s, I didn't give it a lot of thought. I gave thought to retirement, but I didn't give a lot of thought to my final expenses. And I definitely didn't give thought to what I would leave behind in the way of taking care of those things, because I couldn't take care of it myself, or I won't be able to take care of it myself. But as I've gotten older, and I didn't wait until my 60s to think about it, I started to think, just what did I want to leave the people that I love, and did I want to leave them a lot of hard work? Just as I said, uh, the 22nd, December the 22nd, when I got a phone call, I was really unprepared for some of the things. I had made some plans for my brother, should he pass before me, but there were still a lot of things that were not done. And even with the things that were done, there were some things on top of it. So, listening to the presentation, I think that a service such as Liberty Heritage, Liberty Mutual, I'm thinking about the commercial, Lincoln Heritage, uh, is something that's needed. It reduces the stress that you leave on your loved ones. And I, for one, am going to take advantage of this. So this has been Spotlight 11 to find your final expense solution. I'm hoping you learned something. If not, the phone numbers were during the broadcast. But again, I thank you for being here. Thank you, and see you on Sunday.